Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the U-48 part 2, where we're going to continue with the patrol. We'll give you a big catch for those that didn't catch the first part of this that you may wish to watch after, but for now, settle down, we'll give you a summary and welcome aboard the U-48 somewhere out in the northeastern Atlantic. Here we are then. Sunrise on the northeast Atlantic. And for those with eagle-eye vision, what you have here is a periscope just looking out the water as we're creeping away on silent running. We did just engage a convoy. We scored multiple hits. There are, however, 3 merchant ships left, as well as at least 5 destroyers. Our objective is to follow this convoy. There are 2 friendly submarines with us, so that means 3 U-boats in total. We still haven't reached our patrol sector, but thankfully, the convoy with the remaining merchants is heading towards our patrol sector, and so we're going to be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and come tomorrow night, or tonight as it happens to be now, we're just before sunrise here. Guess what? It's good Nacht. The 3 merchant ships, with a little bit of luck. The other notable events in February 1941, the Germans with the Italians decided it was time to go into Yugoslavia. So at this point, things going really from strength to strength for the Axis. We'll have to see if that continues to bear fruit throughout the year. For now, though, it's our objective is going to be to tail along the convoy and be in position for the evening. First order of business, now we're back above the waves. Aside from running the pumps and the compressors, is to radio off the kills from yesterday. So we'll be doing that. We're then also going to head towards the targets that we've destroyed and hopefully be able to pick up some survivors, some officers, and we'll be able to cash those lot in once we get back to base. Of course, the more officers we bring back, the more that we are rewarded, and we require those rewards to gain some favors at headquarters. Most notably, access to new technology before anybody else. Off those messages go then. 4 together with a value of 7,900, and that there. Convoy spotted, and the 3 ships that we've sunk, including the London, of course, able to sink a heavy cruiser on this one. Not bad at all. Captain keeping an eye out on the convoy, making sure that no destroyers swing around, decide to head our way again. I believe the ships further to the right were the convoy. We do have a destroyer, what looks like there, so we'll have to make sure he comes no closer. And most of these to the left, if not all of them, were the destroyers. And so I think it's the solitary destroyer with the 3 merchant vessels over there. And these were the destroyers that were previously looking for us, returning to their formation. And so for now, looks like they're all full steam ahead, trying to get back into formation. And with that bell rung, we must be in the area of the lifeboats. I'm looking for the officers to pick up. Well, here we are, about 500 yards away or so. Let's see if we can see them before we get right on top of them. And this gives you sort of an idea on the perspective of, you know, when the sea's not perfectly flat, how hard it is to spot small ships, even though they're close. And, you know, we get the little tooltip there when we're looking vaguely in the right direction, but there you see it. And so this little boat here, now of course we can see it quite clearly, we're zoomed in, but now when the wave swallows it up, we zoom out again, even though they're just 500 yards away, it can be very difficult to see. And that's something, of course, we as the U-boat exploit as well, being much smaller than a regular ship. And we can see some more lifeboats further in the distance when they pop up on the waves, certainly when we zoom in. So now just gives you a little idea to appreciate how difficult these things were to see, especially when you think most of the time you're not even looking for a U-boat, you're looking for a tiny little periscope and basically impossible to see. You know, the Allies, once they developed radar that was good enough to identify that periscope, was a huge advantage. Of course, the Germans tried to counter that with an anti-radar coating. I'm not entirely sure how effective that was. Well, a quick update. The first 3 boats we came to, as well as the lifeboat from the other place, had nothing but sailors, and so the officers are clearly electing to go down with the boat, or were injured and were unable to get to a lifeboat. And so we've got this final group of lifeboats over here. 2 of them will hope to get some officers from there, otherwise this has been a fruitless pursuit. These guys are not far away from somewhere they can go, just a little under 300 kilometers away from mainland Spain, who's a neutral country. They'll of course have been well aware of that, being at sea for days, together with their little sextant and map. No problem, nothing that we need to do other than, you know, in theory, be nicety. And again, it did happen, check that there are no major injuries, that we can perhaps give some bandages or morphine. Do the basics, and that we will assume we have done. Last couple of lifeboats then to check. Any officers here? Just sailors. And lifeboat 2. We have found a captain and a chief engineer. Fantastic. So at least this, after all that, we did grab 2 officers, and so with that we now have 2 survivors on board. And with the convoy well nicely in sight, it's time for a nice and gentle stroll along. Looks like a nice morning here. 22nd of February, 41, 20 past 7 in the morning, Northeast Atlantic. So engines at half speed, and we'll lay in a course about 90 or so degrees starboard in pursuit of the convoy. And will try and remain outside of their visual range. And at this point, it would seem that the British, at least not extensively equipped with radar. That, however, is going to change in the next year or so. In pursuit now, it's daytime. Knurd there managing the diesel engines. Our chief engineer reports all well. And they're not even having to go at half speed. Very noisy room. A few minutes later, our captains come up with the plan. That would be us. We're going to head into a slightly easterly direction, put the convoy off to our westerly side. Overall, the entire thing is trending south/southwest-ish, perhaps south-southwest. Yeah, so we're going to come round on the westerly side, gradually overtake them, and make sure we're in position for this evening. About an hour or so later, I'm not sure if you can see on the horizon, if you look really carefully, you've got some little blobs in the middle there. Those are the smokestacks from the convoy. And we're full speed ahead here on their eastern flank, moving to get ahead. We're currently on the convoy's 9 o'clock position. You imagine you being in the middle of the convoy with a clock on their 9 o'clock position. We're there. We're about 12 kilometers away. They certainly can't see us and are making no effort to try. It's not even 9 a.m. 4 hours later, we've decided to come to a full stop, and we've tracked ahead. We've now moved into the convoy's last known direction of trend. If we take a look on the map, here with the action of last night or yesterday's episode, here's the convoy's trend line. And if we wait for the autosave to get out the way, if we take a ruler, we can see this is about 120 kilometers or so away from the action. So what we're going to do now, having stopped, is dive down initially to periscope depth. I think I'm also going to set the engines to creep forwards, and we're going to go full starboard on the rudder to make sure that the convoy is in no way hidden behind the rear aspect of our ship. Even without propellers running, we can't really hear behind the ship. So I'll let you know Gonna wake Schuster up, our hydrophone guy. Get him onto the hydrophone. I'll bring you back once we're down there. Well, a couple of minutes later, and Schuster's already picked him up well within his range. This is the convoy that we were going for. Reckons 5 to 12 ships. And we know that's 5 destroyers and 3 merchants and 8 ships total. Let's see if we can plan an effective attack at night. It's 22nd of February 41. So we know, the sun goes down quite early at this point. So 20 past 5 in the evening, and we have dived down with our snorkel, and we're going down at slow speed, keeping track of the approaching convoy using the hydrophone. They're getting quite close, and the sun's getting quite close to the horizon. The crew are gearing up, getting that tingly sensation as everybody knows it's not far away. Couple of hours time. It'll be time to kick off. 7 p.m. and the sun has gone down. Golden hour is all but over, and our U-boat is creeping into position. The convoy is entering range. I'll bring you back once we've got them in sight. It's just a matter of minutes at this point. We are also rigged for quiet. Gyros off, dive planes at a manual. We're currently operating under red light conditions. We may have to switch to blue once we get a little closer as well to rig for ultra quiet. We'll have to see. Alarm bells ringing and dinging. Periscope amidships. And if we take a look, zooming in, here we are, attacking about an hour or so after sundown. It's coming up to 8 o'clock, not quite there. And it looks like we've positioned ourselves as far as the convoy is concerned onto the right half of it. And the nearest target is a British destroyer and another British destroyer. This black one, I'm wondering if that's actually a cruiser. I think we may have a cruiser. We'll have to have a look. There's the Flower class over there. And so this, just a regular merchant ship, but you know what? It's fun to go for, certainly when it's been protected by this many escorts. And that looks like a sec merchant ship. So as far as we're concerned, I think we need to continue. If we take a look on the map view here, you can see sort of a top-down view on the map, what the hydrophone guy is saying. So these guys continue to trend here in the south-southwest. We're here. Despite our proximity to this warship, it feels like we need to be a little closer. Look how guarded this particular boat in question is. We've got a couple more merchant ships back here. Those are being my concern, hopefully without getting spotted by this guy. This guy is, in terms of threat, the one that we need to look out for. The other two are a little further away. So I think plan of action for now is to creep forward. Let's put a ring of around, what's this, around 2 kilometers or so. We'll be a little generous because of how many there are. And so I may even go slow speed until this guy gets a little closer. And then we'll have to just wherever we are, hope that we've got everything ready and that we're near enough at that point. I don't want to go half speed at this range. But I think we can use a little bit of time to go slow before we have to go silent running. And just 5 minutes later, I think we're about as close as we're going to get. We're still on silent. The sea, not the best. We've got a guy on depth keeping. We're going to have to put Klaus on the command station. I'm going to give 3 assistants there. The depth keeping guy doesn't require. Hoffman, get on the radio. We don't need you doing pointless stuff. We've got an extra guy in the hydrophone. We've got 1 extra guy in the engines. Hoffman with his assistant to rearm. And Menzel. That will be, we're playing Menzel for now at least. On the periscope, we've got another destroyer here. Again, this is this really large one. I'm almost certain this may be a cruiser. It just seems, if it is a destroyer, it's the biggest. Clearly this this destroyer from the British a little close for comfort. Hopefully his hydrophone operator's bored and not paying too much attention. This is the guy that we're going to have to go for. The scope is as high as we can get it. The sea a little choppy. Freighter, and he's the one with the flat foot at the back. Or the flat lip. So this one, that's the back. Velocity, well, I assume 13. That's, by the way, the reason 13, yesterday the convoy was doing 13, but before that we had a radio transmission from one of the subs that were following saying that the convoy was doing 13, and so I'm not going to remeasure the speed. Course, well, we're right on the one of these diagonalies here, in fact just a hair in front, so we'll wait there. It's basically 44 degrees AOB, I think.
Ich habe eine große Gruppe von Schiffen festgestellt. Vermutlich ein Geleitzug.
Are we in range of a second large convoy, or is the hydrophone guy either way? Like distance, I'm going to guess where this boat's waterline is. I can't see it. The sea's too choppy. Clearly, the waterline is not there, or this boat would be going under. So I'm going to go for about, going to guess about there. And I'm going to split that. Again, guessing the waterline to the mast about there. And that puts this guy at 4.5 kilometers. That is too far, at least for me, to take a shot on a moving target that is as small as that. I could fire a spread of 4 torpedoes, and I'm almost sure I would hit him then. But I don't want to waste 4 torpedoes on one of those. I want 1 torpedo at the most. So yeah, I'll have to bring you back until we've got some sort of a better solution. We're still creeping forward at silent running, and this guy, well, he's got about 30 degrees off our bow, and we're currently just 45 degrees AOB on him. So best firing parameters are yet to come. We've got a little bit of time. I'll bring you back. A few seconds before 8 p.m, the 22nd of February 41, the initial destroyer has passed ahead. They don't know we're here. Here's the guy we were locking up, and potentially a cruiser that we were interested in. Let's have a look at the new solution. Well, much closer than it was before. We can see the Flower class destroyer there behind. And so let's re-guesstimate the range. Velocity 13, course AOB. Well, it's I think it's further than 71. I'm going to go with our very high 70s. We still see a bit front of the ship, so we know it's not 90. And just toggling with the zoom here, trying to find the best zoom. I think maybe even still the most zoomed in. Once again, having to guess where the waterline of the ship would be due to the seas. So I'm going to go about there, set. And now just 2.3 kilometers instead of 4 and some. 10 degrees off the stern. We're about 10 degrees off the AOB. And so this we're going to go. Torpedo double round to the right hand side should it miss. And I'm going to fire a second, and I'm going to increase the dispersion. And the reason is because of the proximity to the destroyer there. I may be able to pick both guys off, and if I aim to the rear of the middle of target here, I'm hoping that one of those torpedoes may pass to the rear, snag the destroyer, and the other one hopefully grab the Empire Gazelle. We'll have to see. 2 torpedoes in the water. Let's see how it pans out. We'll come to a full stop now. No need to continue advancing there on silent. And we'll have a little look on our maps, see what our hydrophone operator has to say. We see the torpedoes here. If I get rid of my line by... There we go. It's a shame when you zoom in it disappears, and if you zoom out it's as clear as ever, but you get no idea on scale. Just a limiting factor, I guess, of the game and the simulation and realism. Of course, you can't really see torpedoes running across the map in real life, but I suppose in the game you don't get your hydrophone operator telling you how they're doing, but of course he'll know exactly what bearing they're on by listening, and he'll be telling you and nodding, and of course the game can't really show that, so I guess it's the best of both. I'm trying to mix the best of both with the limitations. Well, they're more than halfway from my point of view, and it may be a double strike on the single target. They're getting awfully close. Let's get back to periscope. Let's upscope. Go to the middle zoom, and I'm going to risk upscope all the way. And I just think if one of them does miss by his behind just...
Treffer.
Well, there's one. Middle of target.
Schwere Schäden am Rumpf.
Two. Well...
Feuer an Deck. Schwere Schäden am Rumpf.
Perfect shot then on the target. And yeah, Empire Gazelle going down real quick. Those crew not got time to grab anything.
Höhlenbruch, Sie sinken.
If they wanted any chance of survival, they had to get off right away. And with that, we are now being hunted. I'm going to radio that off right away. They know we're here. I don't think there's anything to gain by not sending the radio transmission. We do have this very large warship coming up, and I'm just thinking if it's a heavy cruiser, they're not going to go hunting for us anyway. They'll leave that to the smaller destroyers and corvettes. Let's lock her up and see. And it's a cruiser. Well, I think capital ships are well again. So this was the ship that we went after yesterday with the 3 chimneys. This one we clearly see has got 2. Dido class, well, not right because... Oh, maybe. Flat back, yes, is... Yep. Recognize, velocity 13. Angle on bow, well... Almost on the 90, as near as dang it. Distance, once again, guesstimating the waterline to some extent. Up to the highest mast, about... That unlock thing slightly in the way, but the flag's right about there. 1.5. Tube 3, we'll set it to 1.8, and if it misses, double round to the right. Let's fire a one shot and hope that we hit, you know, somewhere on the magazine battery or something. Sometimes if you hit these sort of warships just right, the entire thing goes up. If you hit them wrong, you can take 3 torpedoes and still not have them dealt with. And leave the torpedo things on screen just in case we need a second shot. I'll bring you back in a sec. Well, about a minute later, and it looks like the torpedo, I'm not sure if it running erratic or our aim was horrific or what, but it's not looking good. I'm gonna have to hope, does it double round and hit? Because that's not hitting initially, that's for sure. I'll bring you back once it doubles round. So about 2 minutes later, we see the torpedo here on its way back. It just seems to be far too much ahead of this ship. So we must have miscalculated the distance or the range. I don't want to cheat and put a ruler out on the map. I realize a lot of players do that. To me, that's just cheating. You know, and they get all the angles from using at the map. You know, that's cheating. I like to do it all from the scope. Of course, that does mean occasionally like this, we get it wrong. And on this occasion, unless the torpedo went funny, it's gone real wrong. We see it doubling back round. We may be lucky and this torpedo eventually catches this guy, but that's just going to be all down to luck. At this point,
Drei geladen.
we're back on the scope. We're going to have to take another crack at this guy. I think what I'm going to do is manually override the velocity to 12. And that way the torpedo won't give it as much lead. We still seem to be about on the 90 with regards. So I'm going to knock that back to 90 as near as dang it. It's actually quite hard. Do you know what? That's going to be close enough. And distance, let's get another measurement. Once again, as accurate as we can. He's a bit closer now, so it's a bit easier to get his waterline, which is right about there. There's the top, 1.4, tube 2, high speed shot, 74. We're right on middle of target.
Tor 2 fertig.
Los.
Los!
Lower the scope down. And let's hope this one's better. I'll bring you back. Well, I don't believe it. The torpedo once again seems to be running ahead, and this one is not going to double back. Corvette looking right at us.
10 Sekunden bis Einschlag.
Two horrific shots. Despite the adjustment on speed. Well, I think there's only one solution for this. We're going to aim behind.
Der A ging daneben, Herr Kaloi.
We're going to remeasure the range. Despite we had really good success rate until now, we've got a massive target right in front of us, and somehow we're missing. I'm going to manually set the speed down to 11.
Rohr 1 bewässern.
Tube 1. Drop the distance back to 1.5.
Rohr 1 bewässert.
1.580, and then it's going to double back. AOB, well, we're slightly past the 90. That's fine.
Los!
Los. Third time's the charm. I know the problem. She's completely stopped. For some reason, she's stopped and she's allowing all the other ships, and that's what causing these torpedoes to miss. And if we're unlucky, this torpedo is going to strike one of the lifeboats. Which would not at all be our intention. I'm not even sure if we'd get penalized for that. So I think what we're going to have to do is abandon this attack and measure the velocity of this ship. I'll bring you back when it's done. She's moving so slow, perhaps to keep her engines quiet. In fact, that's going to take so long. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop. I'm going to cancel the measurement. And based on that little distance there, I think she's just going like 2, maybe 3 kilometers an hour. Distance, as before, I'm going to 1,400 meters. Course slightly past the 90. And with that, I hope we're accurate. Tube 3. If it misses, 1,650, double round to the right. Los. Hopefully, fourth time we get it. I really should have considered remeasuring her speed. Oh well, it's done now. And this time, the torpedo looks like it's running much better. There's the problem. It wasn't that we were messing up the distance or the measurements. We should have measured her speed. I didn't consider she would all but stop. And if we're really lucky, this torpedo may even snag this distant target here. We will have to be so lucky. Oh, the torpedo's starting to turn. But this one looks like she's about to hit.
Treffer.
There we go. Nice shot.
Schwere Schäden am Rumpf.
Slightly crossed the bow. She's taking damage. Oh, it looks like we've blown a hole through the hole. Look at that. You actually see the sky on the other side, straight through. And she is going down. Well, thank goodness for that. It took 4 torpedoes to do it, even if 3 did miss. Let's see if we can grab this guy. 13.
Sonarwellen, Herr Kaloy.
Oh dear. Freighter, we gotta be quick. No pause in the game. Lip front and back.
Hüllenbruch, Sie sinken.
That one. Course, well, we're well behind now. Basically coming up to the limit there. Set distance. It's maybe the only thing we've got going about there. 1.6. I don't know. Let's radio this. I don't think we can get that from here.
Bestätigt.
And we've got a destroyer heading right for us. This guy is tacking. Let's unlock rather than basically wasting a torpedo. I'm going to switch to blue lighting. And at this point, there is a destroyer making its way. And he's pinging, and it looks like a Corvette, and he's heading straight for us. I'm convinced this guy has got us on sonar. There's nothing else for it. Rudder amidships. Silent running. Crash dive.
150 Meter.
Down we go. Let's lower the scope into its slot. Let's come aboard. Yeah, so we've rigged for ultra silent. At this point, we'll close the bulkheads as well. Dive planes manual, gyros off, blue lighting is on. All the machinery is off. Command station, depth keeping. Hoffman's on the radio for what it's worth. He may as well, I don't know. Go command station. Nothing to gain by being on the radio down here. Excuse me, Weber with one guy assisting him on the engine. That's key. May even give him two if we suddenly need to flank. Response time will be quicker. Menzel, anything else he can do? Again, not really. May as well free his workers up for other Hoffman. That will help.
Herr Kaloy?
Weber, the engineer, does have one decoy pill on his person.
90.
And that pinging getting ever more closer, ever more incessant. I think this guy's got us nailed. We're about to find out.
110.
If he has, though, he's not calling his pals in. But you see there, we're passing over 100 meters deep. That means if he does chuck depth charges out, we've got a little bit of time to get out the way. What I'm going to do is lay in a course. Hang on, which way are we facing, first of all? Well, let's just rudder midships. If he starts dropping, we'll go flank speed, but for now, let's all stop.
Schiffsschrauben. Direkt über uns, Herr Kaloy. 130.
Yeah.
Wasserbomben.
Oh, he's chucking them.
Wasserbomben.
Depth charges. All right, flank speed. Rudder amidships for now. And we'll get Weber.
140.
Actually, can we get Menzel? He's not really doing anything at the minute. Let's see if we can get him. We need Weber to stay on the engines.
Bestätigt.
Grab one decoy out of the cupboard.
Bestätigt.
Rudolph, Menzel.
150.
Depth charges going off. Thankfully, they seem to be a small distance away. Come on, Rudolph Menzel, grab the pill.
Sehr wohl, Herr
Oh, he's got it. Okay, Rudolph, come bring your pill and chuck it out the back. Here he comes. And our chemical pill has been chucked out in the water. That's going to continue bubbling and fizzing and cavitating. And that is going to confuddle the enemy hydrophone. And all the bubbles created actually causes the sonar to echo off it as well. And so with this boat continuing to chase, we're going to come out of flank speed. We'll go to half speed. We are at full depth. And with that, hopefully the enemy destroyer is going to go after our decoy. So I'll bring you back if there's any updates. But for now, we're going to try, I wouldn't exactly call it creeping. We're at half speed, but with all the depth charges causing reverberations around the sea, as well as our pill, I think the sonar operator will have a hard time finding us. In addition, in real life, after depth charges went off, that was it. All bets were off for 15 minutes. There was that much reverberation and sea shaking that they could not find anything for 15 minutes. So it was very, the game very much simplifies that. In real life, that was it. It was over for 15 minutes. If they didn't get it, they wouldn't hear anything for that length of time, which is, a long time. We've been able to make 2 kilometers distance under the sea at this depth, which is huge. And the irony is, the enemy destroyers are still chucking depth charges down at that pill. If we take a look at the map view, we're over here now. Here's where we jettisoned our decoy. And as I say, almost 3 kilometers now. And the entire time I've been progressing here, I've had reports of depth charges, depth charges, depth charges. And they're ways off behind. The reason I've given us a little order to come round now down into the southerly direction is so that our propeller in the back doesn't block off our ability to hear. Looks like we still got our friend over here. I'm not sure if he's within range. Oh, he is. We can give our friend orders despite the distance. So we'll give our friend orders, see if we can get him to attack over here. I'll continue swinging around. I'll bring you an update as soon as I have it. Well, another 5 minutes have passed. I'm getting warnings about the crew being stressed and strained, which is understandable. We're deep. Depth charge is going off, but you see they're continuing to focus on this area. It looks like our decoys finally fizzled out, and we're going to continue making waves for this direction. What sort of distance have we currently got? Well, with potentially 3.5 kilometers separating our boat from theirs, I'm thinking it may be worth trying to go full speed up at the periscope with potentially, we'll have to see. For now, periscope depth, full speed, not flank speed, full speed. And if they still don't move in, potentially the snorkel will try and move away. But again, we're still looking to engage these targets. So somewhere over here, we'll look at moving down here. I realize there's one warship here staying with these two guys. We've got this guy over here. We'll tell him to go more, something like that. All right, I'll bring you back. Well, our plan seems to have worked. It's now 9:45 on the 22nd of February. We've managed to open quite a sizable gap. We've been running at flank speed, but on battery power, about 5 kilometers ahead of the warship. And wouldn't you know it, been presented with a golden opportunity here against these two merchant ships. These destroyers are just so far back. Our friend there in the U-boat, what I'm thinking may be worth trying to get him to engage a warship just to try and tie these three up to buy us a bit of time here. We're Menzel again with the scope amidships. I realise we risk a feather being sighted, but we're still quite a sizable distance. These guys should be around 90. There we go. Here's the near guy. He is going to be first priority. And the way we're going to intercept is just by cutting off by a few degrees. Hopefully that kind of plan will work to get both of them. Bit of a concern with this guy. He's 4 kilometers behind, but he can close that down awfully quick. May be worth, seeing as we've been submerged the entire time, we see air quality is down to 65%, to use this opportunity just to raise the snorkel a little bit. Discipline, thanks to us being on a bounty hunt there, is being restored, and restored quite quickly. And so I think, yeah, no doubt about it, we're going to use this little opportunity to raise the snorkel. Going to order my engines on electric to make sure the diesels don't start up. We're just going to use the snorkel to try and replenish the air quality while we're down here. I think that's very important. Batteries are 86% thanks to the upgrade we got at headquarters. There's the snorkel, and with that air quality now, that's going to replenish quite nice and quick as well. And as soon as that's been done, we'll lower that again as we move in on these guys. I'll bring you back once we're a tiny bit closer. And just a handful of minutes later, air quality has been restored. We're going to bring the snorkel down. I'm going to switch to red lighting to enable us to see a bit better. At risk of being heard, I'm going to set dive planes to electric just to increase the stability a little bit, despite having knurred their assisting dive plane. And that's because the sea's very rough. We're at flank speed. And it's now or never with regards to this guy. Lip front and back, no tower. And I think that is just the old school Empire Bell. Indeed it is. We'll recognize that. Velocity we know is 13. Course, well, we're bang on the 90, but it will hopefully edge ahead of him. But for now it is a case of AOB 90 there. We'll set distance. Best guess on the waterline to be about there, I think, up to the highest mast. With the best guess on the waterline is going to be about there. 1.4. And now moving ever so slightly ahead. And that is reflected there. Perfect. Well, we know we're closing all the time based on our trajectory here. So rather than continuing to take measurement, what I'm going to do is manually type in 1,350. Let's go 1,300 then. We may have already had that. And tube 4, it's going to be a full flank shot.
Rohr 4 fertig.
Los.
Los!
And with that, we'll have to come inside the boat and hope that we have some more torpedoes left that we can stick in the tube. But it doesn't look like it. No, we've expended all torpedoes. How many have we got at the back? Is it 1 or 2? Well, just the 1. Well, the single torpedo looks like it's running well, at least initially, and we'll have to use the rear tube for the second guy. I'm thinking, based on the fact that these warships are going to get excited once this hits, I'm going to stick the diesels on. We'll get the snorkel out. And this looks like it's going to impact any second now. The Empire Trent.
30 Sekunden. 20 Sekunden. Feindlicher Zerstörer auf 9 Uhr. 10 Sekunden bis Einschlag.
Here the diesel's coming on.
Treffer.
There we go. Nice shot. And the timing was right for once. And she is incredibly heavily damaged. Looks like the entire boiler room just instantly blew. She's finished. Unlock. Let's find the next guy. Same sort of story. Lip at the front, lip at the back. Similar to Empire Belt, it is the Empire Belt. Same sort of speed. AOB, well, for now, we're ever so slightly behind. Perhaps about 95.
Ein Sonar hat uns geortet.
Make a mistake. And we're dead. Let's see if we can get an approximate range on this guy. 1.4. Well, we need to get ahead, especially considering we're fine with the rear. Apparently, we've spotted a ship. I'm not sure who that is. I mean, we spotted the convoy. Either way, we'll radio it off. It's possible that a ship has crossed the path that was not part of the convoy. And with the warship, it's got to be this guy pinging and chasing. I can't see who else. Potentially this guy. He's ways off ahead. Yeah, we need to get ahead of this guy because, again, our 2 of torpedoes going to come out the back. I'll bring you back when we're slightly ahead, or unless something unfolds and prevents that from happening. Well, just a minute or two later now, minute past 10 on the 22nd, we have that angle. So the way this is going to happen, hard left, slow engines. I'm going to bring the snorkel in, and that means our rear tube is going to be in the right position to fire. We know he's doing 13 kmh. Scope up for the maximum information possible. And taking a look at that, we're about 10 or so degrees, maybe 20. No, I don't think quite even that. More like 15. Let's get an update on range once again. Water level quite difficult to measure. And with 2 destroyers homing in on our position, I don't want to hang around. Distance 1.1. Torpedo 5. Full speed 81 kmh in the drink. Apparently this one can double round. Well, we want it to double to the left if it misses. 1250. 3, 2, 1. And... Los. Away from the scope. Sonar guy, how's it operating? Well, torpedo has turned onto target nicely. That's the first part. And it looks like it's doing well. This is, I think, the fastest torpedo in the game. 81 kilometers per hour. Empire Trent, the one that we took off, has finally gone down. And this torpedo looking very good indeed. And we know there's no destroyers this way, so I'm going to double back round to this direction. Let's raise scope at risk of being seen.
10 Sekunden bis Einschlag. Treffer.
And we got it. Only just. It was more front than mid. But look how quick she's going down. Perfect strike. Maybe carrying ammunition. The Caritas 1 is down. And with that, we are out of ammunition. Or bingo. Very successful convoy raid. What remains to do is get away from these destroyers. We see them approaching. Let's go slow speed. Let's go blue lighting for ultra quiet. Get rid of the electrical dive planes. And with that, once again, dive down. Nothing to be gained by staying up top. We'll radio that transmission off once we're safely away from these destroyers. And then we'll look potentially about returning to this position and see if we can pick up any survivors. I'll bring you back once we're a little away down, see if these destroyers catch onto us or not. Well, 10 minutes later, this is the situation and what looks like a warship coming right atop of us, and we're going to switch engines off entirely and hope we can get away with it. Coming inside the boat. The unmistakable sound of a destroyer at high speed. Propeller just far too fast for a merchant. And this guy, despite ultra quiet, once again sweeping up. Perhaps something that the developers can resolve at some point. Two or 3 minutes later, it would seem that the destroyer that passed overhead was unable to detect us thanks to cancelling out the engines. We'll resume the engines now to silent running. And if we take a look on the map view, this was the boat in question there. About 1.5 kilometers away, a full mile. At this point, our job is going to be to head away from the trend of the convoy, of which there is nothing left. There's just the warships now. There is no convoy left. We've completely eradicated it. 20 minutes later and further away, we've come up to the surface and we're declaring Menzel to get on the scope, have a look round. We're not hearing anything on the hydrophone, but sometimes destroyers can trick you. Sometimes they can shut their engines off and just wait up there, wait it out. And if you don't hear them because they're just being completely silent, that's happened to me more than once. Well, we see 2 distant smokestacks over there towards the south, and it looks like they're heading away at high speed. Potentially a 3rd smokestack there. It's kind of hard to tell. And looks like nothing but waves. All right, surface the boat. We've disabled the alarm. We're back on the surface and engines are running at half speed. Captain's fine, but it would seem that all the other officers are exhausted. And again, with only 4 bunks to go around between the 6 officers, the captain has his own. It would just seem that first come, first served there. And Menzel and Hoffman drew the short straws and despite being exhausted, are unable to get to sleep. About an hour later, the captain decides, just because of these 2 officers being exhausted, despite Hoffman not having had a full night's sleep, we're going to actually wake him up for no other reason than it's going to allow one of the other officers to get some sleep. There we go. And we may have to repeat process again once Knud's had a little bit more. Let Menzel go. The other option, because we are Winchester, as you would say in an aircraft, no sort of weapons left to deal any damage. I mean, we do have the deck gun. We're going to try radioing, see if we can get some supplies. So the captain has decided that an hour away, going in the opposite direction from the convoy at half speed. If we couldn't go full speed again, our engineers are tired, needing some rest. So we're going to see if Menzel can get that message off to request resupply out at sea. And we'll see what, if any, luck is to be had there. Let's see what he has to say. No resupply ships in the vicinity. We've got to come back to base. All right. Back to base it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed part 2. Concluding the convoy, despite being unable to even reach our patrol sector, completely wiping out a convoy, I'm sure you'll agree, is a success nonetheless. The patrol sector will await for the next episode. Hope everybody is doing well. Until then, from me, bye-bye. Somewhere out in the Atlantic. Back to La Rochelle.